to Cupcake Addiction's meat pie cupcake tutorial, where I'll be showing you how to make this great meat pie cupcake along with 2 veg and mashed potato and gravy. Tools and equipment that we will be using today: I've got some dark chocolate, and I've just popped a couple of chunks of dark chocolate or some dark chocolate melts into a Ziploc bag, given them a smash with the rolling pin, so I've got some nice little chunks that's going to act as our meat. I've got some pre-made peas and carrots. The good folks over at Jelly Belly have made life easy by coming out with their own little peas and carrots mix that are little Jelly Belly jelly beans. If you can't find those, you can use some fondant, some modelling chocolate, or some coloured taffy such as a fruit chew in green and orange, and you can just roll the green ones into little balls, the orange ones into little cylinders to make your peas and carrots. I've got a little bit of fudge, so this is just some sort of soft eating fudge that we're going to use today. I've got some perfectly pipeable buttercream frosting in white, and I've also got some of our chocolate ganache. I will leave links to both of those recipes, which you can find on our channel, My Cupcake Addiction, in the description box below. I've got 2 butter knives, I've got a paintbrush, a fondant roller or a regular rolling pin will also do. I've got just a couple of drops of water in the bottom of this container, a little bit of corn flour in a shaker. You could also use icing sugar or powdered sugar. I've got our cupcakes ready to ice and a couple of circle cutters. The size of the circle cutters that I'm using today, I've got a 6 centimetre or a 2 1/4 inch and an 8 centimetre or a 3 inch, but I've basically chosen them by how they look over the top of the cupcake. So that's about the size of my pie crust, and that's the size that I'm going for the actual crusty edge of the pie. And then this one here, you can see as a bit of a, probably on the bench is better, as a bit of a comparison, that's just going to give me my nice little pie edge. So there's about a centimetre in between the two, or just under a centimetre. Let's get started. We're going to start off with our meat pie today, so I'm going to prepare it with the chocolate ganache. So I'm just going to take that chocolate ganache. Now I made this the day before and I've let it set overnight, so that's why I've got this lovely firm, beautiful, spreadable consistency. You'll notice when you do first make ganache, it is quite runny, so make sure that you've made it the day before, or you give it a little bit of time in the fridge to set before you try to work with it in this manner. You don't want to build that cupcake up too much, so I'm really just using the back of my knife just to scoop it on there, and I actually want to almost, there's not too much frosting on that cupcake. It's not terribly neat either, so don't worry about that, but just sort of flatten off the top a little bit, because meat pies aren't really that rounded on the top. Now from here we want to take some of our caramel fudge. So just give it a nice little knead with your hands, and that will just get rid of any of that cracking, soften it down, and you can roll it into a nice little ball. Don't over knead it, it does get quite sticky, and if it gets too sticky to work with, just pop it in the fridge for a couple of minutes and it'll come back to a really nice workable consistency. So I'm going to take my little fudge ball and just press it between my hands to start us off in a bit of a circle. I'm going to pop down a little bit of corn flour. As I said, you can also use icing sugar, and this is a little bit of optional, just if you find it sticking. And using my little roller, I'm just going to roll it out until I'm confident that my larger circle cutter is going to be able to fit on my piece of caramel fudge. If you love our tutorials, make sure that you head on over to our channel, My Cupcake Addiction. Hit the subscribe button. We've got so many great tutorials for cupcakes and cake pops, and we upload several times a week. So we would love to have you drop by, and we'd love to have you subscribe and join us for all of our future cupcake videos. Alright, so we've got our bit of fudge. Do be a bit gentle with it because it can pull out of shape, but it does taste delicious. Take your larger circle cutter and just pull off your excess, cut your nice circle shape out, and lift it up. Now, that's just it's just to get it off the board so that it's not going to stick, and don't worry if it pulls out of shape a little bit. It's not a problem at all for our meat pies. Taking your smaller circle cutter, cut out the inside circle as evenly as you can, but once again, don't be too worried. And we're going to just rest this around the outsides of the ganache. So this is I guess the supporting area for our nice little pie crust. So just positioning it around the outside, and make sure it's stuck nicely to that ganache, and just sort of lift it up around the edges so it is sticking out rather than folding down. Alright, now from here, take your fudge again and roll it into another ball. Squeeze it out into a circle. Using that larger cookie cutter again, we're going to cut another large piece, the same size as our first large piece. So just give it a nice little roll. Alright, so just taking that cookie cutter again, cut out a nice little circle. Don't throw away that excess and don't be tempted to eat it just yet because we are going to use that on our mashed potato. You don't need any water or anything to stick these together, so you're just going to take that second circle and just lay it over the top. Now, just push it down into that ganache and have a think about what the top of a meat pie looks like. So it's not going to be rounded, it's not going to be perfectly smooth. So I like to just take my finger and kind of just give it some baker's marks. Around the edges, you just want to take your fingers and just pinch the two together. So you're just making that nice little pie crust pinch, giving us a really nice meat pie look. Alright, so that could be pretty much any sort of pie at the moment. To make it nice and meaty and to give us our meaty look, we're going to take one of these knives and cut out a nice little piece. So from the centre, just make a line, don't cut too deeply, and then from the side there, just go in from the side because you don't want to risk dragging any of that caramel edging off. Wipe your knife so that you're not going to put ganache on your nice clean caramel. And then we're going to just peel away that little bit of caramel fudge. So we've got a nice little clean pie slice. Alright, and taking this crushed up chocolate, and you can also use cookie crumbs or something like that for this, but I just like crushed up chocolate because it looks very much like mince, which is what most of our meat pies are made out of. And I'm just sticking it to the ganache, so I'm really just getting a little bit of it on my finger and I'm just attaching it to the ganache. A little bit of it's going to fall off, but you'll see there we're getting that really nice little kind of meaty, mincy effect. And our meat pie is nearly complete. Now we want to just give it some sort of baking kind of marks. So I'm going to take my paintbrush and just those few drops of water. You can use brown food colouring here, but not everyone's going to have brown food colouring and it's not really widely available. So I'm just going to take my paintbrush, put it in some of that ganache and just mix it in with that water. What you're really making is kind of a dirty chocolatey looking water, but it's just going to give us a nice little glaze for our meat pie. And I've still got a little bit of that chocolate still on in the bristles of my brush, so I'm just going to run that over the top. Don't use too much, so just put a little bit of it on and then you can just run the brush back and forward to distribute it as you like. And if you find you want a little bit more colour, just dip back into your ganache, just really lightly, and just run it along the top. So there's your meat pie cupcake, and you can feel free to grab a little bit of red modelling chocolate and add some tomato sauce to that one if you like. We'll move on now to our mashed potato cupcake. So we're going to take that white, perfectly pipeable buttercream frosting and just scoop it onto the cupcake, pushing out to the edges. Pile it up nice and high in the centre. And you just want to fashion it into, look, it's mashed potato, it doesn't have to be particularly neat. So I'm just going to fashion it into a bit of a, I guess a messy looking potato scoop, but you do want to make sure that you're leaving quite a flat top on it. Now we want to take this bit of caramel fudge here and pop it in the microwave. I pop mine in the microwave for about 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and it'll melt down nicely and we'll use that as our gravy. Alright, so that's what your caramel fudge will look like after it's been in the microwave for, like I said, about 20 seconds. Just give it a little stir up with your knife there just to get it sort of moving. And we're just going to scoop that down onto the cupcake. Once you've got it onto the cupcake, you can spread it around a little bit. You want to work quite quickly with this caramel fudge because it will start to harden again very quickly. And give your cupcake a few nice good taps on the bench. Let that caramel drizzle over the edges. That will continue to drizzle for a little while we move on to our 2 veg cupcakes. This is our one with our peas and our carrots. Once again, a little bit more of that white frosting, and I'm going to do one of our flat top frosting styles. So we've got a whole tutorial dedicated to the flat top style of frosting, but in a nutshell, we're basically just smoothing that frosting on down to the edges, trying not to get it over the edges of the patty pan so that we're keeping it nice and neat. And pile a little bit of it up in the centre. Once you've got a nice amount in the centre, just back and forward with your knife so that you're actually spooning it out over the edges. And then take the back of your knife and just scrape around the sides. So you've got really just a nice flat frosted top to work with there. And then we're going to take our peas and carrots. Now I like to just put my carrots on first, 2 or 3 little piles of those, and then fill in the surrounding area with peas. It is that easy. So there you have your great meat pie, mashed potato and gravy, and 2 veg cupcakes. The perfect man feed when it comes to cupcakes. I do hope that you've enjoyed watching this tutorial as much as I've enjoyed making it for you. And as always, thank you very much.